Hello, you dirty little boys. Are you interested in my body?
I'm gonna come.
You'll finally get the attention you deserve.
He's a smee. He's a smee. He's a smee. He's a smee. Hey.
Go have a coffee with your marketing team and just terrify them. With the possibility of what's going to happen if they don't give you what you want.
But hey, that's just a theory. A theory.
You are coping and seething. You just can't accept what you're seeing. Yes, you're coping and seething. The truth is scalding, and now you are molding and coping so hard. Coping and seething.
Power of one, the power of two, the power of...
Down to Papa Roach, please 182.
The power of one, the power of two, the power of...
He's gonna make a great stepdad for Jake.
Holy crap! Holy...
Engines roar through the ash-gray skies. The wasteland burns, but hope won't die. Every screen's a twisted lie, built to break us, make us comply. They poison the heroes, rewrite the tales, turn legends to dust, leave us frail. But we're not done, we won't bow down. Through the wreckage, we'll take the crown. Steel hearts ignite, fire in our veins. Freedom's calling, breaking the chains. They can't erase what we already know. HyperDrive now, let's fucking go. HyperDrive time, we're burning the night. Blazing through shadows, our stories ignite. Will all the fans come ride with me as we laugh at foolish hypocrisy? HyperDrive time is now or it's never, as long as they rule, let's fucking go forever. Forever.
Yeah! How you like that? It's that time again. It's episode 2 of HyperDrive Time, and I am Will of the Fans. See what I did there? Welcome, everybody. Hope you're having a lovely morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. We are gonna do some news, some reactions, and well, a bit of a dive into the state of the gaming industry. So how is everybody doing today? I can see quite a few people are already coming in, so that's great. We've got the usual suspects. Furious Dan is here, saying shout out to Will of the Fans. Thank you very much for that. Divining Dragon is here as well. Of course, I'm here. I don't know if you noticed, but yes, I am actually here. So that's great too. And of course, we've got other people showing up as well. Roger Nichols is here. Sonny Kim. Who else we got? Deeple 101. That's That's a new name for me, but already a member. Congratulations. You're in the Grift Force. You can join the members stream that will be coming up. Let me look at the calendar. Ooh, on Monday. Wow. Need to get that ready. Got plenty to talk about there. JJJ Jr. is here. Crowbar the Skull as well. Wow, you guys are here. And Gogeta's here as well. Well, I know we'll be safe if I get any more random tremors 10 minutes before the stream starts, as I just did. It very rarely happens here in the Philippines where I am currently based, but I did actually watch my lights start shaking about 5 minutes ago, and I thought, are you just trying to curse this show? Yesterday we had an internet issue that made my camera shut off and then freeze, and today I'm like, okay, what have I done to deserve an earthquake right before the fucking stream starts? So there you go. That's what's going on with me anyway, besides the actual work that I'm trying to do here. So touch wood, we'll all survive, we'll all be okay. And if you are here, let me remind you, please, to
the stream.
like the stream. Do me a favor, get yourself some more mates in the chat you can argue with, you can have a good old time, and of course let me know if there's anything you want me to talk about. You can ping me something and I will respond, no problem whatsoever. So I hope everybody's fine as we roll into the news. I got quite a lot to talk about today. I keep thinking, oh, this will be, you know, one of those shows where I can do kind of like 2 stories and really dive into them, but it's looking more and more like last minute things that pop up take my interest, so I'm going to include them as well. So we're going to have a little chat first of all about Trump, because it's a pretty important day that's happening at the moment. It is the end of DEI in pretty much any and all government departments, as White House OPM orders all DEI offices to begin closing by end of day Wednesday. And for those of you who are not aware, as I'm in the Philippines, it is currently Thursday, which would make it end of day Wednesday. So we are going to be seeing a lot of very annoyed leftists over the next 24 hours or so. And yeah, you're right, not a moment too soon. I guess basically, you know, DEI is a cancer. I think everybody can pretty much agree with that. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is a lie. It's a complete sham. You know, you've got diversity, first of all, doesn't actually mean what it advertises itself as. It means no whites, right? No whites, no straights, no men. Basically, that's what it's actually been since it was implemented back whenever it started creeping into our entertainment and we started noticing it, and probably a long time before that. So DEI, you know, diversity is a sham. There's no actual diversity. You only have to look at the Doctor Who clip that I was doing a video about yesterday. For me anyway, it was yesterday, and you'll realize very soon that you walk in 23 seconds of footage from that episode, and you've got an African playing the Doctor, an Indian playing his assistant, and the only other people who speak in the clip are yet another Indian and another POC. There are white people in the background, but considering the UK and much of America is a very, I'd say there's probably a higher percentage of non-whites in America. Britain, very, 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 very white still. And don't get me wrong, again, no issue with people of any race or whatever doing whatever they want. But when it's ham-fisted, when it is government-backed, when it is forcing you to ignore certain people, that's called what? Discrimination. So diversity actually stands for discrimination. Moving on, we'll get to equity, but we'll go straight ahead to the inclusivity part, because that again flies straight in the face of what diversity is supposed to represent. How is it inclusive when you are deliberately excluding certain types of people because they're apparently overrepresented? Who decided that they're overrepresented? I think we all know who originally decided that stuff, and it's designed to destabilize and exclude. So You've got diversity, which actually means discrimination, and the I, which actually means exclusion. So that's no use either. And as for equity, this is straight up Marxism. Equity and equality are completely different things. Equality would be where everyone is afforded the same opportunity, no one is held back, no one is deliberately suppressed, which again flies in the face of the other two, because we've just established that the net result of this is the exclusion of certain types of people. So it is so very, very, very nice to see this complete sham being ripped to shreds. I don't know how much straight politics stuff I'm going to keep doing on the show. I am predominantly a pop culture commentary channel, but Trump is pop culture, and this matters on the macro scale. Before we get into the sort of nitty gritty geeky stuff, this is important shit. All DEI federal workers are to be placed on administrative leave, paid administrative leave. So it's not like he's destroying their lives by end of day Wednesday, which is, you know, right about now if you're in America. So there you go. It does appear that the hammer is falling at last, and hopefully this has got to have the ripple effect that we're all begging for. But let's read a little bit anyway first. Excuse me. It says the Federal Office of Personnel Management notified heads of agencies and departments that they must begin taking steps to close all diversity, equity, and inclusion offices by the end of the day Wednesday, and place government workers in those offices on paid leave. This comes from Fox News. Of course it does. Acting Director of the OPM, Charles Ezell, sent a memo to heads and acting heads of departments and agencies on Tuesday evening, directing them, but by no later than 5 p.m. on Wednesday, so it's already started. Jan 22nd, they are to send an agency-wide notice to employees informing them of the closure and asking employees if they know of any efforts to disguise these programs by using coded or imprecise language. Now, that's a very interesting point, because we've already seen a few attempts to rebrand DEI as other names. We've had all kinds of different variations of that. We saw Ubisoft were planning it. We even read in one video that I made that Ubisoft were actually planning to advertise games, if they even survive long enough to release any, as being devoid of any DEI, whilst actually creeping it in slowly but surely. So it's no bloody use saying that, you know, you're going to get rid of DEI when you're absolutely blatantly not. So, yeah, very good. He's incentivizing people to rat out these efforts as well. This shit must be rooted out. Absolutely gutted, root and stem. Anyway, we've got a few more people here now, of course, as well. And hello to Alison Blunderland. Hello as well to Stinrocks. Kira's here as well. Good to see you guys. Appreciate you joining for the show. I know it's new. I know it's not something that everyone's used to yet, but I am going to be continuing with this. I want to be streaming more and more. And that is... yeah, yesterday was a great day for me. I'll just go on a quick aside, because I know you guys tend to care about this stuff. You know, I'm getting up early in the morning. I'm streaming first thing. It really makes me feel like I hit the ground running. Then I get to chill out and listen to like Hypnocast and Smash JT with all of you while I'm making my videos. Man, I was finished for the day by like 2 p.m. It was glorious. I had so much more free time to spend with family and helping my dad out, stuff like that. So it's great. I'm loving this schedule. I hope you are too. It's not easy juggling family and doing streaming all the time. Plus, I'm going to be streaming WTF Live, which for me will be end of the day, 12 hours after this one finishes. So double duty today. And you guys will, of course, experience that in the opposite direction as morning and evening tomorrow. So good anyway, but yeah, so this is great stuff that's coming in here, of course. Zelosi's here as well. Hello. And yeah, it's nice to see you guys. So there's more mandates coming from the Trump administration saying that notifications to all employees of diversity, equity, and inclusion and accessibility. So there's another one, DEIA, for Christ's sakes. Offices that they are being placed on paid administrative leave, effective immediately as the agency excuse me, I'm tripping over my words. It's very early in the morning for me. Agency takes steps to close and end all DEIA initiatives, offices, and programs, take down all outward-facing media of DEI offices, so there you go, and withdraw any final or pending documents, directives, orders, materials, and equity plans issued by the agency in response to the now repealed Executive Order 14035, Diversity, blah, 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 blah. Don't need that, bro. That's blurb. But there you go. That's where we're looking at now. DEI is being officially stamped on. I don't think it's going to be quite that cut and dry. I mean, you don't go after cancer with a sledgehammer, but you know, it's more of a scalpel job, and we definitely will have to watch as this hopefully has the ripple effect that I want. But of course, as I pointed out on Twitter, as Kada pointed out on X as well, the next step must be to take a look at the media industries, TV, streaming rather, video games, of course, massive part of it is video games, of course, at the moment, and movies. They need to get the hell out because that is DEI propaganda, and DEI propaganda, once again, is culture cancer. So there you go. That's where we're at. So there you go. Now, by Friday at 5 p.m., which is the end of this week, of course, written plan must be submitted to OPM for executing a reduction in force regarding employees who work for DEIA, a list of all contract descriptions or personnel position descriptions that were changed since November 5th to obscure their connection to DEIA. There's going to be attack dogs running through these offices. It's going to be glorious. It's a fucking good day, everybody. Goodbye, goodbye, DEI. Hey, 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 goodbye, and...
Like the street.
No, I know. It must seem like deja vu if you just came from Hypno's gaming stream, which I didn't want to steal his audience or anything, but there you go. Anyway, here we go. We have got this happening. It's fantastic. I'm looking forward to hearing more and more about it. What do you guys think? I think it's going to be good times for everybody. So there, Trump is doing as good as he said, and this is one of the things that matters most, I think, and that is that the vast difference that you are seeing between what was for the last 4 years, and not just in America, but everywhere as a ripple effect. Complete incompetence and an absence of anyone actually leading is gone. The guy's president. It's not even the end of his first week yet. It's not even the end of the middle of his first week yet. And these departments are being shut down to restore actual diversity, actual equality, and actual inclusivity. And hopefully erase the propaganda machine very soon after that too. And yes, DEI should be rendered completely illegal. I mean, it is illegal. Of course it is. It's unconstitutional. But even more than that, you know, they've been hiding the fact that they're doing it and it's illegal. He now needs to make it like a federal offense. If you do not adhere to this in the next week, then you will be prosecuted. That's what it needs to be. Unfortunately, it shouldn't have had to come to this. But this is what happens when you let communists run everything. And there you go. They'll sneak around. They'll try and do their little trick where it's redistribution of wealth, which is one of the reasons people think shows like The Acolyte was able to still be considered a win internally. For example, a lot of people got paid a lot of money for that. And that money came from somewhere. Where did it come from? Where did it go? I'm not singing Cotton Eye Joe. All right, though. But there you go. Great days for Trump. And that's a nice little intro to the show. How's everybody doing? It's good times. But we don't always have nice things. There's going to be at least one story in this episode of HyperDrive Time that's going to be pretty fucking miserable. And just a reminder that there's a world out there, not just one country. But before that, let's have a good laugh at Alana Pierce, because this chick is batshit insane. She's been in various roles in the game industry, and she's lied constantly about various things and made videos attacking the fans. So, you know, that puts you squarely in my crosshairs. This channel has its name for a reason. So if you're not quite aware, she's been making a little noise for the last couple of days. That all started with this tweet where she said, I am aware it's fairly pointless to address this, because if you fall for the BS, I think you've actively chosen to. But yes, I was a writer on a AAA game at Sony Santa Monica. And hey, John, thank you, mate. Yes, thank you very much. Share the stream, like the stream, help the stream any way you can. Support small streams. Thank you. But yeah, so when you hear the phrase writer on a AAA game at Santa Monica, I mean, there's only really one name that comes to mind. And unfortunately, it's a character that was created by David Jaffe, the ultimate lolcow. A man who got completely and utterly humiliated by Gamergate earlier this year. Or rather, sorry, late last year. I'm still doing that. And, you know, that's God of War. So she claims she was a writer on AAA game at Santa Monica for 4 straight years. She says she created characters, developed main plot lines, wrote levels, etc. Worked with hundreds of people who can and do support my this. Yeah, you're not a very good writer, are you? I mean, you should demonstrably not be using phrases like support my this if you claim to be a master of English. That's ridiculous. What the fuck? You can't talk, woman. How can you write if you can't talk? Oh, well. She says, anyone who tells you that I fabricated this or only worked on a cookbook is an idiot. Okay. She then goes on. She says, I have been probably annoyingly vague about details because when you work at a big company and you have a following, sometimes people explicitly ask you to be. That's a nice cover story. And I care very much more about the people I worked with there than I do about the internet's bad actors. Oh, what a typical leftist. I care more about employees than customers. Always the way. This is something that I'm hearing an awful lot more lately as well. Don't know about you guys. But I keep hearing people kind of letting the mask slip and saying, well, we have to protect our employees. We have to protect our employees from the evil waves of angry customers. Jesus Christ. Do you know what? When I worked in retail, fuck retail. I worked in retail plenty. I worked in every form of retail you could possibly imagine, from news agency to more niche things like Blockbuster Video and various things like that, or like liquor stores, all kinds of stuff. The customers came first. That's just how it is. That's why I don't like the term consumer or consumer, because they're pathetic, like the first enemy in Mario. Consumers don't question anything. They're basically just brainwashed pigs who sit and receive the slop pumped directly into their brains by companies like Disney, etc., etc., etc. Consumers have given up their agency. Customers have not. Quite simple. You are a customer. You have a choice. You do not have to settle for the shit that gets peddled by Disney and the rest. Sounds like some commie gobbledygook. Exactly. And more you're hearing companies or people who've worked allegedly, because we'll get to that in a minute, allegedly within these industries, claiming that they are much more interested in preserving their employees than they are protecting their customers from the insanity of their employees. When I was working in these jobs, even when I worked in events, I worked in quite prestigious events around London and Europe and places like that for a fairly prestigious company that ran charity events as a wireless technician. If I screwed up, and the people in the clientele were like celebrities, millionaires, lords, people like that, do you think I would have got defended? I didn't even get defended by that company one time when I actually got called up on my way home from an event, which was from Germany or somewhere. I was flying home. And then I had to go to Heathrow Airport and help another team that were quite new and hadn't quite learned how to troubleshoot everything yet, with an event that was going terribly with the setup and the data was all wrong and blah, 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 blah. So I went and helped out, and I stayed for the whole event. And the client wrote a glowing letter of thank you about me to the company. You know what happened? I got punished. I got used less by the company because they claimed that I was throwing other employees under the bus and I'm not a good team player. It's like, that's not what happened at all. But okay, if that's your attitude, fuck you. What they certainly weren't doing was trying to protect me from their judgment just because they had made a poor managerial decision. I got thrown under the bus for all my effort. At least I got paid. But yeah, that's the world, okay? I know that sucks. That's a bad story, and I don't agree with the way I was treated there. But that's how little your employees matter compared to the customers, or the perception the customers have of the company. And as much as I hate that, that is unfortunately the only way for a company to be successful is to prioritize its customers and their perception of the company. And I mean, they were wrong, but that is how it probably, it's not how it should be, but you know what I'm saying. At the end of the day, if you fuck up and offend or annoy a customer, it's your neck. You're just a spoke on the wheel. It's unfortunate, but it's the way the world has to work if we're going to get the best for the people who pay the most. So there's that. Anyway, that was a nice little aside from me, but she is one of these people who will absolutely take the stance that the employee matters more than the customer or the consumer. And part of the use of consumer is to deliberately make it easier to oppose the customer in favor of the employee, which of course is a trickle-down practice that is called stakeholder capitalism. And we all know where that came from, a certain mountainous region of Switzerland where a certain forum gathers. And yeah, that's where we're at now. Thanks to these utter muppets who are unelected advisory figures that governments listen to, we've got stakeholder capitalism, otherwise known as communism. So there you go. But that's not even the biggest problem with Alanna Pearce, because the fact is that she's a fucking liar. She is a fucking great, big, massive, colossal, serial, addicted fucking liar. No two ways about it. She is.
You liar!
And she cannot stop. As Kiryu pointed out here, she said, or he said, I don't know who it is, said, what you're saying is disingenuous. You're a proven liar. You are hyping yourself up for God of War Ragnarok, the one with Sweet Baby Ink's involvement. So, nah, not that surprising. Says, oh, I'm a writer on this game, guys. Turned out you lied, and it was a cookbook. So she argues here, blah, blah, blah. Okay, genuine question. Obvious bad faith aside. No, that's a nice defense that people like this, liars, gaslighters, charlatans in general, like to say, oh, well, your argument is bad faith. No, it's called criticism. You just have to learn to toughen up and fucking deal with it. Especially, you know, it's happening all over the place right now. It's happening in Goonagate. There's people who are going out and making absolute fucking idiots of themselves. And then when they get roasted one way or another by the overwhelming majority, who are not in any way organized, by the way, they can't handle it. They say it's bad faith. It's ridiculous. You just have to learn to shut the fuck up. It's bonkers. It's amazing how many people in our own midst, Gamergate, whatever, Comicsgate too, for that matter, are just pansies. Fucking pansies with absolutely no sense of accountability. Not just the left. Of course, Alanna is a leftist. She says, bad faith aside, could you let me know where I claim to be a writer on God of War Ragnarok specifically? Genuinely, even one screenshot, blah, 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 blah. You can go down. There's a lot of other stuff here. There you go. Accessibility consultants saying here. There's all kinds of shit. But the one that really matters is this one from November 30th. The title scenario writer does not exist within the company. She says she was a scenario writer. Anime Mania 500, shout out. Hello. Welcome back. But I write scenarios and create main quest lines. All the shit for you, all the shit you, for some reason, without having any way of knowing, think I don't do. Long Neck Man is here. Interesting name. Replying to Charalana Zard. Oh, for fuck's sake. Do you know another thing you've noticed about all these people? These pointless, cutesy names, and apparently they're all Pokemon fantasizers as well. But you know what? I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. That's for Hypno and Smash to get into. But maybe one day. But anyway, yeah. This guy, Long Neck Man, says narrative director / writing lead would be the scenario writer, just different wording. What part are you credited for? No part. No part at all. And there you go. No, that's not how it works internally. All the writers write scenarios, not just dialogue. My job is exactly what you're saying I don't do. Scenario writer. What is a scenario writer? Does anyone actually know what a scenario writer does? Be like, okay, character goes here, camera goes there, this happens, move on. Background looks like this. Scenario writer. Congrats. You ever written a scene from a play? You ever written a script for anything? I have. It's, you know, you go, okay, here's the blurb, here's the description of the scene, and here's a storyboard. Go make it. Congrats. Unless scenario writer means the entire plot of the game, in which case that's usually a job for a very small knit team. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a whole bunch of conflatory bullshit in your story, and you'll end up with something like, well, not The Last Jedi, because that was written by one moron, but you know what I'm saying. Give me a second for a break here, guys. It's early in the morning. I'm not quite awake yet. I need some water to wake my throat up. Thank you for waiting. Scenario, I'm non-binary, says NPC person. Yeah, you're right. You're right. So, obviously, she's being pointlessly vague here, deliberately. She's trying to dig her way out of being caught in an obvious lie. She has no credit. You would have to be credited. She's trying to say there's no department for her to be credited. So then what did you actually fucking do, bitch? Why don't you just say, okay, I worked on this scene, I worked on this scene, I wrote this bit, I wrote that bit. Because you ain't got shit. You didn't do it. You're a fucking liar. You are a fucking liar.
You liar!
And everybody knows it. So anyway, there we go. It carries on. He says, I just find it odd you weren't credited for what you say you do. Oh, and yet I do it full time. And again, I wouldn't lie about that on Twitter where everyone I work with can see it, but you did. Someone else replied here, Anthony_Birchall off. Says, if someone is not credited as a writer on God of War Ragnarok, they were not a writer on God of War Ragnarok.
You liar!
My spite for those who would accept undue credit outstrips my spite for this platform, apparently. And there you go. There we go. So that's what came from that. Just a whole bunch of backpedaling and trying to rewrite the narrative that she herself started with. But then, of course, there's another way that she's a liar as well. And that would be she lied about some art. As we found out from Saram here, or at Sarah M_D, I don't know what the actual name is. Of course, it's the internet. Says, regardless of the method used to draw this, my original artwork was not referenced as a source from the beginning. They gave the impression that it's her original drawing, and no, it didn't take 45 minutes. It took me 3 days. What are we talking about? Well, this picture here from, again, Char Alana Zard, for God's sake, says, smashed out one very scribbly shinobi while I waited for WoW Classic to download. Yeah, it's a while ago, this one. Done with Derwent pencils and a black Copic marker on trusty old printer paper. Took about 45 minutes, hashtag Sekiro. You know, I'm something of an artist myself, having done all the branding, all the drawings, all the editing for basically everything on this show, this channel, everything you're looking at, I made it myself. And, well, frankly, there's very few people who could draw something that detailed in 45 minutes. It just doesn't strike me as possible in any way, shape, or form. Let's see if I can open a new tab so you can get a better look at it. See that? Look at this. Look, there's just no way that took 45 minutes. If you've ever watched a professional comic book artist drawing or something like that, you will know how long it actually takes to draw something like this from scratch. You have to go into it with a mindset for planning. Anyway, that got, exponentially worse when it turned out that Saram, the person who's accusing them of being a liar, well, they appear to have been the original artists themselves. As you can see, a much cleaner, likely digitally drawn version of the same picture, the exact same picture. One done with pencils or whatever, and the other done digitally. It's patently obvious. The only way this could take 45 minutes to draw, and even if I actually set out to create something based on someone else's art, I still doubt you could trace and shade this in 45 minutes. I don't think you could even John there. Yes, I know John. I don't think you could even trace it in 45 minutes. It would be very difficult to do. She says regular old printer paper. Maybe held up against a light source or something, because otherwise I doubt it. Traced from a screen maybe, or a tablet or something with a backlight so you can see through the paper. That's the only way you could do it. But there you go. It's a complete copy of a better artwork. And there you go. So Alana Pierce, once again, you are a freaking liar, frankly.
You liar!
Maddening. It's genuinely maddening watching these people who conduct themselves as authoritative sources on things. Just fucking lying all the time. Oh, I wrote for Santa Monica on God of War Ragnarok. First of all, God of War Ragnarok is the one that kind of broke the formula. Secondly, you didn't. Frankly, you fucking didn't. That's what I'm trying to say. You didn't fucking draw or write any of this stuff. You are a serial liar. It is baffling to me in this day and age, since Gamergate began again in earnest almost a year ago now. It's baffling to me just how many people on both sides have been exposed as liars, charlatans, tracers. It's just, yeah, that's the problem. People will believe them. Most people are still very much in the matrix and just go, oh, that's nice. And most of them are doing it because they perceive that the person that they are championing and supporting is in fact an authoritative source and has actually anything interesting or relevant to say about anything. It's complete crap. This is one of the reasons why I refuse and reject the term influencer when talking about me. I also reject the term grifter as well, of course. I mean, don't get me wrong. People like to go, oh, you people, you just want super chats. No, I haven't got any right now. And that's not why you do these things anyway in the first place. You don't start off an endeavor like this because you are thinking, easy money. No, it takes an awful lot of work. You have to really care about what you are talking about. You have to really care about the thing that you have decided to dedicate your YouTube channel or otherwise platform to. Otherwise, and you have to put in hours every single day. And even when you're not working, you have to be on social media, watching what's happening and keeping track of things. It's a full-time job. It's a 24-hour job, really. And that's just the way it is. Sometimes I get yelled at because I'm always listening to something on my phone. Yeah, you know why? Because it's a never-ending cycle of bullshit. I need to stay abreast of it. So there you go. No, grifting is not what we're doing. And I do not want to be an influencer. I'm not here to tell people how to think. I'm here to tell you how I think. And if that happens to resonate with you, it's brilliant. Fantastic. What I have noticed, especially since I joined up for Gamergate 2, is 90% of people do agree with me, with Smash, with Hypno, with the rest of the SNH alums, everybody that I stream with or the other bigger channels stream with. We all have come to the same realization and set of opinions, or very, not much exactly identical in many cases, but overlapping. And we've all agreed that there's a rot in almost every industry of the world that needs addressing. If I didn't care about that, then why would I do this? I mean, I'd like to be able to just sit and talk about video games or anti-consumer practices like the old days, but no. This shit started and has to be gotten rid of. But more than that, we have to get rid of the liars. And the worst thing, of course, you came to be told what to think, says the swabby one. Well, good for you, I guess. I don't even know what to say to that. Don't be like me. You can be a little like me. I'm not that bad, but I wouldn't try too hard. Anyway, there we go. Alana Pierce, liar, charlatan, fink. And that's just another one of these millions and millions of absolute asshats who don't at all present anything of value while trying to claim that they actually do. And all of it is, of course, about money, which is why they get so angry when people do succeed and make money streaming or making videos or whatever, because they are the actual grifters. There you go. Now we got another story that I discovered a few hours. Wow, this is bright. Oh, well, a few hours after the previous stream, I was just sort of browsing for more stuff that's going on, having a look around, trying to see what was going on for today's stream. And I came across a really, really horrible story. So apologies for this, but it actually does present a very big problem in industries outside of America. And it also addresses the fact that all of the things that these DEI fanatics say, these cultural Marxists say, and have been saying for 20 years about the West, is in fact happening everywhere else. Give me 1 second. All right, more like 3 seconds, fine. And, well, let's just get into it, okay? Because this concerns Ubisoft, and also it concerns Assassin's Creed Shadows, which, of course, we are all kind of quietly waiting for this to come out and be a complete disaster, because there's no way it can't be. And as for if you have a bad take, generally speaking, you should never be against realizing that you might have made an error and confessing that, you know, if someone convinces you that you are wrong, there's actually nothing wrong with saying sorry. Going, you know, actually, I think you might be right. Like, for example, what's going on with Goonagate and all these fucking Christian zealots at the moment. And don't get me wrong, have faith in whatever you want. Don't try to morally grandstand. Don't try to suppress freedom. Don't try to stifle the arts. And certainly don't act like a giant, cowardly, perpetual victim if you get hounded for your bad take by many, many, many thousands of people. The best thing you could probably do is shut the fuck up, frankly. Shut up and get back to work. Try to steer away from it. But the really best thing you could do would be apologize. Try to see the other side and really reflect on it. And while you're reflecting, shut up. That would be more or less my advice. That's what I would do. I've had bad takes. Well, I've not had any takes I would say are that terribly bad, but I have had backlash on X to things I've said. And I've said before, like, oh, well, maybe that's the case. You know, maybe you're right. Maybe I'm right. Maybe we just agree to disagree. This is getting, you know, crazy. Or I could just shut the hell up until I feel like I'm comfortable to calm down and come back and then say, all right, you got your take, I got mine. Live and let live. I don't know, there's any number of ways you can do it. I'd say diffusing is the most important thing you could possibly do. And there you go. Anyway, let's get into this other story from Ubisoft and a support studio of theirs from Indonesia that proves that if the DEI people, or rather the crusaders for equality and humanitarian treatment, wanted to be finding something to actually address and fix, they should probably have been looking in other countries besides America. Because I know I live in the Philippines. I've seen a fair amount of human suffering. I don't see that much. I, live in a relatively moderate level of lifestyle here. But I've certainly seen enough people living on the streets, washing themselves on the streets, things like that. And I've seen people work tirelessly for dozens of hours for feeble fucking pay. And that's no use at all. Stinrocks, wow, hey, thanks very much. $9.99, where hey, that's a good start. Thank you very much. Good advice, Will. Well, there you go. Just a straight compliment. What a dude. Appreciate it. Dramatical Laws here saying, Will, streaming in the day. It's only 8:45 a.m. Will, for you, yes, mate. It is, no, for me, it's 8:45 a.m. That's right. You're absolutely right. But I wanted to stream a different time where some of the audience might have an easier time watching, interacting. I wanted to put out more content. I wanted to spend less time sitting agonizing over thumbnails and more time interacting with you guys. And it seems to be benefiting all of us because we're having a good old time. You guys have a third show to watch before Hypnocast and Smash take over. And well, I mean, I just made $10, so I'm pretty happy. But even besides that, it's nice to see you guys live rather than just in the comments. I have trouble keeping up with the comments because there's so many of them now. At one point in the very beginning of the channel, I was able to answer almost every comment. I was very proud of that. Very proud. I'd sometimes sit for an hour or two and just answer comments. That does not happen anymore. I'm so sorry. I just don't have time. And there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and thousands of comments I've never been able to answer. This is better. This is much better. I realize it's not great for everybody's time, but then we also have WTF Live, which will be happening in about 13 hours time for those of you who live in another country. So I'll be double streaming today or double streaming tomorrow, depending on where you live. But appreciate you all being here. Absolutely. What's that? Asmongold somehow answers comments to 40,000 live streamers. I don't think so, buddy. No chance in hell unless Asmongold is living in a time warp like Hypnotic is, where somehow he manages to do like the job of about 3 people every day. That man's work ethic is insane. Anyway, let's get to the story then, because I wanted to talk about this. This is fucking disgusting, what I discovered from this story, and it appears to be true. And I wanted to cover it because there actually is suffering and injustice in the world besides the lies that they tell you about, like, oh, you people want slavery in America. It's like, dude, if you hate slavery, fuck off to the Middle East, fuck off to Asia, find the places where, go to Africa, find the places where slaves still exist and go crusade there. One country that seems to have a problem with this sort of thing, and it's not the first time I've heard of this kind of stuff coming out of Indonesia, but it is. From outright beatings to wage theft, former employees of Assassin's Creed Shadows' support team, Brandoville Studios, claim leadership subjected them to constant physical and mental and financial abuse. Okay, so this is going to get a little dark, but we have plenty to be going on with after this, all right? As if Ubisoft's public image as well as one's collective faith in humanity could stand another such disappointment, a new expose centering on the Assassin's Creed Shadows development support team at Brandoville Studios. What, she beat herself, you say? Oh, well. Has alleged the Indonesia-based company to be a hotbed of leadership-fueled employee abuse, with alleged offenses ranging from the physical to the mental and even the financial. It's, I mean, maybe she's making it more dramatic than it is, but this kind of stuff does go on in these countries. So it says, per archives of the Brandeville Studios website made just before they ceased operation, in addition to Ubisoft's aforementioned Assassin's Creed Shadows, they also worked for other companies like Disney, Sony, Naughty Dog, Warner Brothers Games, Sega, Xbox, ZeniMax, and NetEase. According to this woman, the report is primarily based off the recollections of Krista Sidney, a former employee who claimed to have suffered a long string of abuses during her time at the studio. A handful of other employees. According to her, her troubles began after finding herself facing a potential firing, at which point she caught the attention of one Quan Cherry Lai. And basically, this, you can take this with a pinch of salt. I can see some of you arguing with this because, yeah, the source, it came from the guy who said that Valve is too white and stuff like that. And that, I understand, is you know, it's I don't think it's right to immediately write something off because a source is biased in one way or over another. There's usually truth in the middle somewhere. And what we're hearing from this here is that this woman, Cherry, who was the wife of the CEO, claimed that God had talked to her and encouraged to take this employee, Sydney, under her wing, which sounds very nice. But rather than offering her any help, apparently, she treated her basically as a slave, basically, and various other employees dictating everything from when they could drink, eat, or sleep, and which religion, Christianity, they should practice. Yeah, you see, NPC person here saying believe all women. No, don't believe all women. I'm just reporting what I think is, if true, a very, very negative story. Anyway, Cherry also made, that's the boss, also made abusive comments to employees, attempted to divide them via gossip, gaslighting them into trusting her or being suspicious of their own families, and blew up over minor issues or failures. Well, I've seen that behavior before. I've had a boss who did that, tried to divide people to be against each other. There's that. And apparently as well, it got to the point where this woman was allowed, well, apparently this is the part I have trouble believing, the fact that she'd be allowed only minutes of sleep. I mean, she'd be deranged to the point of insanity within about a week. You wouldn't be able to get on that. But she said that when she finally decided that she was going to try and resign, she was manipulated by the company to basically tell her that her paycheck was actually theirs, and that the tuition and hours of mentorship, which she had been given from this apparent despot, Cherry, most of which Sydney claims was basically nonsense, were not actually given out of charity or God talking to her, whatever. And she was actually expected to pay her back. So she withheld her paychecks, apparently, and stated that they didn't belong to the employee, but were more of an allowance, meaning that they had final say over everything that they could earn and how they could spend it. Now, this one caught my attention because I absolutely have seen this kind of thing happen. But yeah, okay, maybe some people are saying she did it to herself, or she actually is making the whole story up. But I don't know. I feel like there's some truth in there somewhere. And it's just another example, like I said, that while this kind of behavior is absolutely illegal in countries in the West, in the East, it really does go on. It does actually happen a lot. So I don't know whether it's completely true or not, but if it is true, it's pretty damn terrible. Just a reminder that companies do exist that need to be, you know, checked out. I don't know about this Brandoville. Apparently there are other people involved as well, which is something she said. There were other employees as well. I don't know. Oh, wow, what's happened here? Thank you, Bounding into Comics, for fuck's sake. And yeah, this kind of stuff, it does go on in these countries. It happens in China. Definitely happens in China. Definitely happens in Indonesia. That's true. And it's terrible. You should watch out for this stuff. And basically, if people want to find human injustice, mistreatment, if there's anywhere that they think that their DEI practices should actually be implemented, no, they should never implement DEI. But, you know, a bit more rights for workers or investigate these kinds of things, this is the place to do it. It certainly is not the place to go. America is certainly not the place. The UK should not have been the place to go and decide that you are fighting injustice, where people have guaranteed rights, people have reasonable pay, and people have a good standard of living. But there you go. Make up your own mind about it. I don't know what you guys think. I think personally that there's usually some truth in there. It might have been what's the word? Sensationalized for the benefit of a commie narrative from the guy from Eurogamer who attacks gamers and attacked Valve for being too white. On the other hand, it's not likely that it didn't happen at all, because of what I know about countries like that. I know that it can happen in Asia a lot, because there does seem to be much more, especially in China. There are protected classes, and they're not the people that you would think they would be if there was any fairness in the world. There shouldn't be a protected class ever, really. And people shouldn't be allowed to treat their employees like actual filth. And I've always been that guy. That's my sort of not quite libertarian, my centrist self coming out. I don't want to hear stories about people being beaten and having their finances withheld for them and being manipulated and controlled right down to what they can eat, how much they can sleep. But at the same time, if someone is using it to spin a narrative in the West, that's no good either. It's exactly why, actually, we need to get rid of DEI, and it's exactly why I'm so very glad that that's what Trump is doing as I speak. But it's part of a bigger problem, really. And the biggest problem of them all is the fact that the game industry itself is dying. There's been a release that John made me aware of yesterday, sent it to me, actually. Again, almost within a couple of hours of me finishing yesterday's episode of HyperDrive Time, he sent me this. Hang on a second, and let me get it on screen. It's the 2025 State of the Game Industry from the GDC. Now, the GDC, of course, doesn't happen until March, but well, there you go. They have this every year, and it's the most dire document I've ever fucking seen. Like, this just is pure depression in a document, and a lot of lying too, to promote the narrative that will have to be rooted out. This is precisely why we need to address the DEI that goes on in the artistic and media industries as well. Anyway, first of all, before that, Anime Mania just gifted one Will of the Fans membership. Wow, well, very generous, and thank you. Yeah. Someone is lucky, and that someone is Trashy Drifter, who I think is lurking. So shout out to you, and of course to Anime Mania 500. Thank you very much. Gotta love it. More green for Princess of the Fans, as TGAP Steve would normally say. Go green, be cool, get emotes, spears in the chat, or anything you want in the chat. Lists is in the chat. All right, anyway, this is the 2025 State of the Gaming Industry. It's quite a long document. That's why I've basically allowed an hour for it. Because there's a lot of rubbish in this document that is being given out to developers who will be attending the GDC. And the GDC is where devs stood in an open field and shouted for like 3 minutes. Yeah, that is, yeah. It was cringe. It was one of the cringiest things ever. I don't know if I can find that clip, actually. I'm sure it was at the GDC. Where is the clip? Oh, yeah. Hang on a second. Just let me find it. And I will get it on screen. Bear with me. Bear with me. Nice. John with the spears there. Here we go. There's one version of it anyway being reported by somebody. I had it on another video of mine, but it would take too long to go through my videos looking for it. Hang on a sec. This dude reported on
that they took to a field outside of the conference. And
why is it not moving anymore? God damn it. I hate playing this stuff. Oh, well, all my data's on the screen. Whoops. It's not working. But yeah, basically you can see that they were standing and they were screaming like a bunch of fucking great babies. If anyone's got a better clip, do link it to me and I will share that instead. For some reason it's not playing. I don't know what the hell's the matter with these fucking things. Oh well, there you go. Chuck some spears, Trashy. That's right, Trashy. Chuck some spears. Oh, they will definitely be screaming this year. There's no doubt they'll be screaming this year. This year, Trump's back and going after the DEI. That'd be crazy. Yeah, they'll definitely be screaming this year. But anyway, this is the document in question. Forward is cringe. It says, it seems fitting that we've reached the 13th year of GDC's State of the Game Industry, a number viewed as lucky in some cultures and unlucky in others because it feels like the last 12 months have seen their share of fortune and heartbreak. Cringe. There's a cringe in the chat too you can use. Get those emojis. Industry layoffs have continued to the point where 1 in 10 developers say they've lost their jobs in the past year. This is happening as more studios adopt generative AI. Oh dear. Oh dear, the AI is coming for them. Coming for their jobs. Even though it's increasingly unpopular among developers. I wonder why. Probably because AI, if used correctly and programmed right, doesn't have their biases. Working hours are going up. Investment opportunities are shrinking. This sounds like Trump's first announcement that he was running for president again. We are a nation in decline. If that one was true. And recent severe weather events like Hurricane Milton and the Southern California wildfires are drawing attention to the growing impact of climate disasters. Dude, the California shit was entirely preventable. Okay? Even Trump predicted it on Rogan. Don't do this. Stop trying to push your fucking bullshit narrative about climate change. But the game industry is resilient, as are its developers. PC development has skyrocketed. Oh yeah, well, I wonder why. More studios are prioritizing game accessibility, which is, of course, the A on the end of DEIA. Unionization support holds steady, and Hollywood continues to see the value of adapting games for the big and small screen. Hollywood is dead. This is cope. This is the copious thing. This is the fucking copious thing I've seen in a long time. They are just literally coping and seething. This year, we surveyed over 3,000 developers with a +2% MOE, working with research partners at Omdia to analyze and survey data and collaborating with the team at Game Developer. Okay. But they are just literally like, what have we got here? We've got, it's bad. Everything sucks. 1 in 10 developers have lost their jobs. Yeah, because they're making shit under the DEI mandates of horrifying management. Cope harder.
You are coping and seething. You just can't accept what you're seeing. Yes, you're coping and seething. The truth it is scalding, and now you are molding and coping so hard. Coping and seething.
So let's carry on then. My God, the developers of 2025. The game industry continues to grow and change along with its players while the industry remains largely white and male. A few key data points show how the developer community is becoming more diverse. Oh, yippee! Fuck's sake. Bellends. Someone needs to send this document to Trump like as soon as possible. Gender diversity in the game industry has seen a notable shift over the past few years. Women and non-binary, doesn't exist, developers now make up 32% of game developers compared to 29% last year and 24% in 2022. Yeah, that's called DEI. So instead of what we could call women and non-binary developers, we can call diversity hires, aka incompetent newbies who haven't actually been trained properly, have just been forced into the industry so that they can make up numbers. And it says here, LGBTQ representation among developers has also increased, with 1/4 of respondents identifying as LGBTQ plus, up from 21% in 2024. Yeah, you know why? Two reasons, let's say. A, because you are crowbarring them into the industry. And two, because a lot of people are now having to suddenly come out and say that they are gay, lesbian, bisexual, trans, or otherwise bullshit that doesn't exist in order to keep their jobs. I mean, if you're a person who's got a family like I have, and needs to support them like I do, I can't rule out that if I had no other option to make money, or I felt that I had no other option, that I might have to just tick a box that says I'm something I'm not. I don't think I would really do that, but if it wasn't about me and my pride, and it was in fact about a bunch of absolute muppets in management who are determined to fill their ranks with as much pointless, guffy, fucking vacuous virtue signaling points as they possibly can, and that matters to them more than my job, then maybe I'd have to save my job. I can't rule it out. There it is. Just wear a dress to work, full beard. I once did that for a hen night, for a bachelorette party, if you're American. Yeah, my friend begged me to do it, so I did. It was funny. I ended up yelling at a dude because he kept pinching my ass. Long story. Anyway, nearly half, 43% of an 18 to 24-year-old developers identify as LGBTQ. Oh, what a fucking surprise. It's all in the 18 to 24-year-old group. Wow. There you go. There you go. And that's true too. Now straight is what's in the closet. Of course, once again, the hammer is coming. The hammer is coming. And they are going to be scurrying away like cockroaches very, very soon. So there we go. Now we have 35% are white, male, and not part of the LGBTQ blah, 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 bollocks community. Yeah, fair enough. Except it's not fair at all. First of all, why is it in red? Like in where it's everything's pink, of course, because you've got these gay colors. But yeah, gender 6% are non-binary. Whatever little percentage that is, prefer not to answer. Not listed 0.3%. Women 25%. Man 66%. Interesting. I wonder if they're women who identify. I don't know. That's weird because it still says that 35% are white and male. 1% are 65 or older, 5% are 55 to 64, 15% are 45 to 54, meaning they are old school, like people who grew up on a Commodore and things like that. 33% representing my age group here, 35 to 44, and 36% representing 25 to 34. So you're bringing in the youngest brainwashed people you possibly can. Great. Don't get me wrong. There are plenty of very talented young developers out there. Something tells me they're not getting jobs, though. So there you go. The global game development community, this year's State of the Game Industry report includes developers from 86 countries spread out over 6 continents. Yikes. That's crazy. That is, that's actually, you know, if it's organic, not so bad. But of course, countries with the most respondents, US 58%, UK 7%, and it just goes down and down. Canada 6%, Australia 3%, Poland, Brazil, Sweden 1%, France, Germany, India 1% as well, or 1.3%. So there you go. Terrible. Looking terrible. Anyway, at this point, quick aside, just want to give you guys a quick reminder.
Like the stream.
And there we go. Now we've got a whole section here on race and ethnicity. Wonderful, because these things are so fucking important. Why is this what they're even talking about? Why does this even fucking matter? This should be about business figures, money in, money out, the state of the industry, what genres of games are more popular than others, what if they even need this. It's supposed to be a creative industry, but of course it's also a business. But why the developers should even care about this, I don't know. If they're just coders. Just a second, I'm getting very, very parched. Lovely. And it says, we've seen a change in racial and ethnic diversity in game development communities since last year. Not for long. Ha, 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 ha. Though it's a little more difficult to quantify, as many of the changes are too small to draw conclusions. According to the survey, 16% of developers are East, South, or Southeast Asian. That's where I live. 1/10 are Hispanic, Latino, or of Spanish origin, and 3% are Black, African, or Caribbean. At least they didn't say Latinx or Latinx. I stop fucking cursing now. Repent. Repent. The combined increases did manifest in a year-over-year decrease in the number of respondents identifying as white or Caucasian, going from 64% in 2024 to 59% today. And there you go. So we're looking at white and Caucasian still making up 59%. And you know what they think of that? They're thinking that they're the ones who must repent. And they've got to get rid of all these horrible, filthy white people. Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish, 10%. East Asian, 9%. Multiple ethnicities not listed, 5%. Prefer not to answer, 4%. Southeast Asian, 4%. That would be devs in countries like the one where I live. And I know that there are a lot of very talented developers in this country because I used to employ about 30 of them. Black, African, Caribbean, South Asian, Middle Eastern, blah, 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 blah. It goes down and down and down. The point is, who gives a fuck? Who gives a goddamn fuck? Sorry, I'll repent for my foul language later, off camera. Developers rolled despite the surge in layoffs. I wonder why there's a surge in layoffs, by the way. As a Latino, please never use that again. Okay, I apologize. I do apologize. I will apologize for that because it's fucking sick to put that X in there and imply that it actually has anything to do. The Filipinos were exactly the same, by the way. They tried that with Filipinos as well. They tried Philippinks. And, whoa, you do not want to do that. Wow. It was like the biggest surge of new Filipino Twitter users I'd ever seen. Anyway, I wonder why the layoffs are happening then, guys, huh? Well, I wonder. Let's see. Bloated budgets that don't need to be as high. Desperate attempts by management to crowbar live services into gaming as much as possible without obviously realizing that no gamer can commit to more than one live service at a time. That one alone is enough, really. That one thing alone, everything has to be fucking ridiculously expansive, massive, over budget. Then you've got to, in line with your gigantic budget and insane development times, got to hire like dozens and dozens and dozens of devs. But then at the same time, you've also got DEI coming in, forcing you to hire useless, young, inexperienced first-time devs. We saw this from Mark Alexis Cote saying he doesn't know how to contact, or rather reach gamers. How do I reach these kids? But at the same time saying that the developers working on Assassin's Creed Shadows were largely new. So then a lot of seasoned devs who've spent 20 years or 10 years in the industry are having to exit because they can't get their salaries paid to the standard that they should be. They'd rather hire 3 useless, incompetent DEI students and teach them to code themselves for less pay than one decent leader who knows how to actually program a fucking video game. Result, game tanks. Community managers offending the fans. The fans rebel, Gamergate happens, and games don't sell. Hello, Concord. Hello, Dustborn. Hello, Unknown 9 Awakening. Hello, everything from Sweet Baby Inc. last year and everything from Ubisoft last year, to the point that there are mass layoffs because you have lost so much money, potentially $100 million in some cases on a video game, more if you're Sony. And what do? You have to fire the little guys. Fuck that. Remember what happened when the Wii U didn't sell properly? Fucking Satoru Iwata? Was that his name? No, that's the Zelda guy. I can't remember who the hell was it Satoru Iwata who was the head of Nintendo before? Yeah, it was. Yeah. He took a massive pay cut, took like a 50% pay cut or something crazy like that. Don't quote me on the exact figure, but yeah, he did. He personally took a massive pay cut because it was his leadership that had steered them into the mess that they were in with the Wii U. That was like everywhere. Gamers were applauding for that. And anyway, there you go. What are you guys saying? All for diversity, but not for pushing out another demography that's just replacement. Well, that is what diversity actually means. Replacement. Thought it was the GameCube. No. The GameCube was a bit of a fuck up, yeah, but the Wii U, I'm sure I can find it. Let's see. Yeah, in 2013, this comes from generative AI itself, by the way, but I will share it on screen if you like. Hold on. There's references, of course. It says Satoru Iwata, former CEO of Nintendo, cut his salary in half to prevent layoffs. He believed that a fully staffed Nintendo would have a better chance of rebounding. Now that, my friends, is a leader. May you rest in peace. Anyway, so there we go. The breakdown of job roles has remained consistent. Yeah, well, because you've been firing mostly QA people. Top roles are in game design, programming, and production and team management, like 2024. Game design, 35%, programming, 34%, production, 31%, visual arts, 20%. How are we doing for time? Business and finance, narrative writing, community marketing, blah, 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 blah. So there you go. But they are mass layoffs. Crazy. And DEI is exactly, yes, a replacement theory. Experience, years in industry, 6 to 10, 22%, 3 to 5, 24%, 2, less than 2 in the industry, 13%, 11 to 15, 14%, 22%, 15 years or above. But if you pay attention to that, that is 37% of people working in the game industry that have only been in the game industry for up to 5 years. And I'm not saying you can't give people good opportunities. You need to, of course, as devs get older, but they need to be trained properly. I also feel like a lot of these stats are being crowbarred into certain ways to force them to represent a certain way when they want them to. 21% of developers work alone. Yeah, that's actually true. A lot of developers are not actually team players. They like to work alone. They prefer to work alone. I think actually even when I work on things, I've worked in teams like artistically and creatively, but I prefer to work alone with things like that. There's a reason why I've not tried to hire an editor or a thumbnail artist or anything like that. Although also that is because I can't afford it. But yeah, basically, I'd rather do my creative work myself. And most devs actually consider themselves creative. So there you go. 60% of game developers report having 10 years or less experience in the game industry. That's up from 56% last year and 57% the year before that. So less experienced people this year than there were before. Great. Just what you need. Industry layoffs. 1 in 10 game developers have been laid off in the past year. Shit. That sounds terrible. And you've got this suitably depressing graphic here that kind of looks like a flaccid cock. Layoffs have now become part of the industry, with announcements now a weekly, if not daily, occurrence. Well, that certainly lines up with the first few things we heard this year. We certainly did. I mean, while I was still trying to put this show together, and I missed a fair few topics, the beginning of the year, the first 2 weeks of 2025. Why am I going to say 2015 now? What the fuck's wrong with me? The first couple of weeks of 2025 were absolutely entirely stories about this studio closing, this studio laying off, this studio's laying off, more layoffs at Rocksteady, more layoffs at Ubisoft. Everybody's fucking firing their staff because they can't afford to pay them, because they lost too much money on their crappy DEI riddled, bloated, expensive, quadruple A, greedy fucking video games. Well, let's look at what actually succeeded last year. Stellar Blade, Space Marine 2, Black Myth Wukong. Apart from, you can say what you like about the sex appeal of Eve as a character. There ain't nothing sexy about fucking Wukong, but the gameplay was good. Space Marines ain't sexy either, for that matter. The gameplay was solid, really enjoyable fun, and above all else, they behave like video games, i.e. the campaign will end, and you can then go on to another game, and they'll make you another game to play in a couple of years. Great. It's worked so well for so long. But now that they want every game to take over your entire life, you basically have to put on a wedding ring to play a video game these days. It's maddening. Tyranids are sexy, apparently. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, you're playing old games, NPC person. Me too. I'm not playing anything. This is why I keep saying, as a replacement heavy gamer, as opposed to what's the words Ryan uses? I can never bloody remember. Yeah, some people want to fix the industry. Some people want to see it burn. I am the latter. I don't want to see it burn. That's the wrong explanation. But what I'm trying to say is, if the industry refuses to learn and it must burn, I ain't gonna be too sad. I have got, even on these shelves behind me, there are games I've never played. Not many, but half a dozen or so. My Steam backlog is colossal. And that's without mentioning all the other games I want to replay and all the games from previous generations that I still have never played. There are whole bunches of games from Gen 5, Gen 4 onto current gen that I've never touched. I am not going to run out of video games to play. The onus is on this industry to convince me to part with my money to play a new experience instead of just go and play one that I missed or one that I've played before. Utterly bullshit. I mean, look at the fucking stream I did last week when I did Zelda for 6 hours, Ocarina of Time. Now, that must be one of the most overplayed and over Let's Played games ever. But you guys enjoyed it. And yes, I am going to do a sequel as soon as I work out some time to do it. I have to, convince my wife to. Maybe I'll put it on a tier or something, like, hey, if we can make enough by the end of a week on these streams, I'll give you a Saturday or something where I play some games. I don't know. Let me know how you feel about that. It's much easier to convince people that I need to spend more time here doing this if they think we're benefiting somehow. So there's that. About 11% of respondents reported being laid off in the past 12 months. Altogether, 41% of game developers have been impacted by layoffs this year, up from 35% in our 2024 report. Very good. No, not very good at all for them. For us, very good. Because, again, it's such a difficult topic without sounding like a callous motherfucker, you know what I mean? I don't want people to lose their jobs, okay? I don't want anybody to suffer if I can avoid it. And that's the baseline that anybody should be believing in at all times. Unfortunately, it's inevitable. The only way the companies will learn, because the companies are the rat bastards who will not take pay cuts themselves like Satoru Iwata did. They'll lay off their fucking QA testers. Great idea. So you've got less people managing more game for quality assurance. That's not going to result in games coming out even worse than they already are. And they're all inexperienced as fuck as well. Exactly. Developers are feeling the weight of this across the board. Last year, a majority, 53% of developers said there had been no layoffs at their companies. Today, that number is down to 43%. More developers saw their direct colleagues 29% being laid off than workers in other teams and departments, 18%. Let's look at this. The dick pic. How concerned are you about future layoffs? 30% not at all concerned. 24% slightly concerned. That is a significant amount, by the way. 18% very concerned. 16% somewhat concerned. 12% other or NA. What are those? The DEI people who just go, I don't understand. Black Lives Matter. Idiots. Anyway, layoffs by job role. 19% narrative, 16% production and team management, 16% visual arts, 12% programming and engineering, 9% game design, 6% business and finance. So the smallest number of layoffs are coming from the highest paying departments. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the AAA game industry. Jesus Christ.
What? What the fuck?
If any of these should be dropping their fucking staff members, it should be business and finance. No question. No question at all. It's embarrassing that this is the way it is. I mean, it's bad enough that 9% came from game design and 12% from programming. I mean, these are the people, and visual arts, I'd say, who are probably doing the most valuable work. I mean, the only good one here is the 16% production and team management, arguably, as you can point out, because what do we see on the reg? We get notifications from articles about companies like Ubisoft where they're announcing, oh, yeah, well, actually, the people who go into team leading roles tend to be the people who don't want to actually stay making games. So the people who are least passionate about gaming end up leading the devs. It is, exactly. And Dracos365 is absolutely right. Let it burn. Let it all fucking burn. Don't care about it. So why is this still happening? As studios and publishers continue to lay off developers across the game industry, workers and industry leaders have been looking to place the responsibility somewhere. Yeah, passing the buck. According to the survey, the top reason companies have given their employees for layoffs is restructuring, a general term for reorganizing a business to make it more profitable, followed by declining revenue and market shifts. That's for those who've even got an explanation. 19% of developers told us there was no reason given for any of their company's layoffs. I wonder why they would not give you a reason. It couldn't possibly be because it's management's fault. And it's their fault that they can't afford this shit anymore. They have made horrifying decisions based on greed, avarice, virtue signaling, communism, Marxism, suckling up to the WEF, social change, all this bullshit. And that's why they can't give reasons. Because if you have to fire someone and you know it's your fault, but you refuse to take any responsibility for it, this is what's going to happen. Almost 1/5 of developers were given no reason at all. In the industry, we set impossible goals and then fire everyone if they prove to be impossible. We need to apply lean and agile processes instead of shooting for the moon every single time. Who the hell said that? Because that is actually true. That is actually true. You need to cut, as my mother used to say, you need to cut your coat according to your cloth. You can only make what you can afford to make. Stop trying to turn everything into a quad A live service. Put out a fucking video game. Doesn't have to be even the most incredible video game of all time. It can be, a really fun romp where you're blowing up Tyranids for 12 to 20 hours or something like that. I actually don't know how long Space Marine 2 is. Maybe it's longer than that. And you will find very quickly that people will buy that. It's a manageable thing. And then you won't have to be charging $100 for a goddamn video game. Imagine that, because that's the next step. That's going to expedite this entire process. You're going to put the price up. Okay, great. You're fucking brilliant. You might as well, Jesus Christ, you might as well like point a gravity gun at the meteor and pull it in quicker. Madness. Says developers were also asked to share what they feel is responsible for the rise in layoffs. While many of them recognize that revenue and market shifts were part of the problem, they placed most of the blame on specific issues like COVID era overexpansion, rising production costs and declining player interest, unrealistic expectations for the next big hit, and poor leadership and mismanagement. That's based as fuck. I mean, okay, first of all, COVID, you don't blame. Now, this is misleading, of course. Frequently mentioned terms, pandemic and COVID. Sure, of course. But that's not what that they actually mean. They're not blaming the pandemic and COVID. They're blaming the greed and avarice of the video game industry that rapidly expanded and started trying to put out more and more games to what they perceived would be a much more captive audience. Whereas, you know what I was playing during the lockdown? Let's think now. I played Final Fantasy VII Remake. I played Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood for the PS4 trophies. And then I played Doom 2016, which was 4 years old then. You know, and Assassin's Creed 2 was, I mean, it was the Ezio collection, so it was a re-release. But, you know, I just played whatever I had. I didn't have any fucking money to go buy video games. I was struggling in the Philippines. But we managed. We made it. Now, the rest, of course, is absolutely true. Rising production costs. Yeah, absolutely. Declining player interest. That is a symptom, not a cause. Declining player interest is not inevitable. Declining player interest has been caused by unrealistic, all the other stuff. Overexpansion, rising production, unrealistic expectations for the next big hit, and poor leadership and mismanagement. But let's not forget what they haven't included in all of this. Your old pal DEI. That's what's up. Yeah, so there you go. Greed, overhiring. Those two are based as fuck. Yeah, absolutely. And combined actually make up more than 25%. Greed and overhiring add up to 26%. And there you go. If you lost your job, have you been able to find a new one? No. It's been over a year and 500 applications. It feels hopeless. Games industry is killing me. Yes, within about a month. Okay, good for you. Yes, it was the worst job hunt I've had since I was a student. I've been laid off 3 times in the last year. Whoa, fuck. That's bleak. The first 2 times I was able to find a role. My current studio just laid everyone off. I was only there 4 months. Haven't found anything yet. Have a new job, but it's a worse pay level. Way worse pay level. Took me 1 year and 8 months to build up enough consulting to survive. Consulting? Well, fuck you then. Still unemployed after a year. Had to get a job in a different industry. Yep. There it is. A lot of developers end up leaving the game industry entirely and going to work on software. Like, you know, mainstream software, not video games. It's dark. Then they blame a lot of their problems on generative AI, which is a total cop-out because it could easily be made to work for them. Over the past year, generative AI has shifted from a concept into a common tool. Investors are pumping billions of dollars into AI companies. Studios are busy developing their own proprietary tools, and AI-generated content has a robust foothold in search engines, social media platforms, and advertisements. Yeah, I even used some AI to find out about Satoru Iwata. Older developers are more likely to use generative AI than younger ones. Well, why would that be? Because they're more competent, so they can use AI? Instead of just using it to cut corners, maybe, something like that. I wouldn't, this is pure speculation, of course. I wouldn't know. But when I was working with developers and hiring developers for an outsourcing company, The ones who were most interested in AI were the most senior. So there you go. The game industry is not immune to this change. According to our survey, a majority, 52% of developers work at companies where generative AI tools are being used. 1/3 say they use them personally, up from 31%. Okay. Less than 1/10 of developers say their companies are interested in generative AI tools, down from 15% last year. In comparison, 27% say their companies have no interest in using them. So they're trying to reject it, basically. But you know what's funny? What's really funny? If they had some competent leadership and some senior devs, they could actually expedite and probably render their production times more efficient. AI might actually be the only thing that could possibly help them to fulfill their dream of releasing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of live services every year. It wouldn't work, though, of course, because, again, gamers don't pick up live services anymore. Live services as a term has been around for a decade and change now, I guess. You know, not just MMOs, but looter shooters, all kinds of stuff. Games that have season passes, things like that. This started in the 2010s, around 2010, actually. And Ubisoft and EA were the first to really bring it in. Like, oh, DLC rules, you know, additional content, microtransactions. Let's turn a game that could end into a live service that never, ever ends. And we'll just keep pumping out content. I hate that term. That's why I don't like the term content creator. I prefer YouTuber. Because YouTuber is based. It's what I actually do. It's what I actually am. Content creator, by contrast, is pretentious, first of all. And also, content is a term I would use to define Disney Star Wars. Disney Star Wars is content. Lucas Star Wars is cinema. There's a big difference. You know what I mean? So there you go. Anyway, when asked what applications they saw for the use of generative AI, they pointed to tasks like coding assistance, concept art, and 3D model generation. Yeah. Although you got to watch out for things like that because you start losing character. Hire a fucking artist. Hire an artist in the Philippines. There's plenty of good ones. With this country's love of tattoos, there are great artists everywhere. Anyway. More companies have AI policies. Almost 2/3 say they work at companies with some form of internal policy for generative AI. That amount increases to 78% for developers at AAA studios. What's your company's policy on generative AI? 35% optional, 24% no policy. 16% we're not allowed. 4% select tools, 9% they're mandated, 12% don't know. You out here, John? I appreciate you coming, man. Thanks for being here in Modern. Big love. See you later for WTF Live. Anyway, what impact do you think generative AI is having on the industry? Well, let's read this. Generative AI awareness and use have increased over the past year, but developer opinions on technology are sourcing. Someone says, I have a PhD in AI, worked to develop some of the algorithms used by generative AI. I deeply regret how naively I offered up my contributions. So now they're blaming AI for taking their jobs. 13% believe it's having a positive effect. 21% say, that's down from 21%. 30% said it had a negative impact, a 12-point increase from 2024. They're not favoring it anymore. Well, that's because it's being used to replace you instead of you controlling it. What concerns do you have about generative AI? We should use generative AI to help people be faster at their jobs, not lose them. It can be a powerful tool, but people taking credit for work they did not do or using source code they do not understand can have some consequences. AI is here, like it or not. Responsible use is key. That's the best, absolutely the best response so far. AI companies need to incorporate the concept of consent into how they source data sets. That's a good one. No matter how you put it, generative AI isn't a great replacement for real people and quality is going to be damaged. That's true too. In the wrong hands. Thanks, John. I will have an awesome stream. As for you guys out there, thank you very much for sticking with us. We got 44 people currently watching, supporting a small stream. So I love you for that. Appreciate you very much. Like the stream, of course. Don't forget to like the stream. That's right. That's right. And of course, if you are enjoying the stream, show me some love. And I'm going to keep doing this either way. We're going to be streaming Monday to Friday on this show. And maybe even more. We'll see. Like I said, I might put gaming streams as an option, as a tier or something. Not like immediately after the stream, but I'll do like a week total or something. I don't know. Well, it's all very, it's all very conjectureful. I don't know what the fucking word is. This doesn't happen to me very often. Every year we ask developers to share what platforms they've been using to make games. PC. That's right, baby. P-fucking-C. A lot of people forget this about me, but I have been a console kid who grew into a man in his mid-30s without ever really properly gaming on PC. Except for emulation. Now my Steam account is bursting with games. Now I want a game on this PC. This PC is powerful. It's good enough to do it. But beyond that, PC is the most user-friendly and uncorrupted service. And as long as Steam remains Steam, not giving a fuck about DEI and things like that, that will continue. Meanwhile, PlayStation is the utter definition of AAA bloat. They have got a machine that has been out for 4.5 years. Fucking hell. Can you even believe that? 4.5 or so years the PlayStation 5 has been out. Coming up to. And in that time, they've managed to put together, 10 exclusives? Only 2 of which could be considered must-play by some. There still really isn't a killer app for the PS5. That's why I never bought one. Just didn't bother. Yeah, PS5 is my last console, says Alice. Yeah, agreed. I didn't even buy a PS5. I just thought, what's the point in this thing that has no games and costs more than the PS4, like almost double the PS4, wasn't readily available for months, and no games came out for it for like 2 years. Pointless. Absolutely pointless. So yeah, PC, obvious. PC, you have access to everything. And the other thing about Steam, that's only for Stellar Blade. That's fine. If you decided that Stellar Blade was the killer app for you, totally fine. I knew I wouldn't have time to play Stellar Blade at the time, so there was no point. And fuck spending like $500 on a console for one game. But that's just me. I was having a baby at the time when it came out. And I am again this year, so it's not going to happen this year either. Anyway, PC has consistently been the platform of choice, but this year saw its dominance increase even more. 80% of developers said they're currently making games for PC, up from 66%, and three-quarters said the platform is of interest to them, up from 62%. My first console was a Game Boy. If that counts. If it doesn't count, my first console was a Master System 2. Then NES, SNES, Mega Drive, PlayStation 1, N64, PlayStation 2, GameCube, PlayStation 3, Wii before PlayStation 3, then PS4, and finally Switch. That's consoles. Handhelds, every Nintendo handheld ever. The exact reason for the jump is unclear, but it could be connected to the rising popularity of the Steam Deck. I bet John would agree with that. Personally, I don't know. I've never played the Steam Deck. Year's survey didn't single out Steam as its own platform because it's a hub for PC and Mac games, but it appears some developers do view it as a unique platform. Yeah, I mean, these days, I think basically you're either making games for Switch or PC, and the people who are making games for PS5 probably just being told to. You started in television. Actually, you know what? Maybe even before that, I think I had an Atari. I had an Atari XE. Yeah, and I had a fucking thing with little knobs that you could pull out of the machine. I think that's like a ColecoVision or something. I was very young. Very young. It had Pong. So I guess that counts. Yeah, maybe even before. I don't even know how old I was then. Maybe my dad knows. Anyway, so next project seems to be PlayStation over Xbox. That's a no-brainer. Xbox is a dying concept. They just don't even bother with like consoles anymore. If you're gonna program for Xbox, you might as well just program for PC. Xbox Game Pass over PlayStation Plus. That one doesn't make it. That makes sense, is what I'm saying. That's not something I would argue. iOS v Android. Android is winning. Well, that's again the trend. We're sick of companies like Apple that force their obsolescence on you with their products. Nintendo Switch versus successor. Fairly even. Yeah. Makes sense. But there you go. It's looking bleaker and bleaker and bleaker and bleaker. Unity and Unreal remain on top. That's not surprising. Godot lost a lot of their market share as a result of going woke, which is exactly what they did, and they regretted it. I always wanted to make some more videos about that topic, but I never quite got round to it. I didn't have a ColecoVision per se. I had something like it. I had like a brown box thing with a couple of pull-out pads that had only a knob on them that you could turn to control Pong and other variations of it. I can't think what it's called though. It's I'll have to look into it. Anyway, we'll carry on with that. I never had an Atari Jaguar. I never had a Dreamcast. That's one that really annoyed me. I actually want a Dreamcast. There's a few I missed out. But that was because, I don't know if I've either just always had a good judge of what's going to work or what's going to win in a generation, but I more or less picked the winner every generation. Before, of course, knowing it was going to be the winner. But there's that. Anyway, what's one big idea that would improve the game industry? Okay, this will be interesting. One person says, oh my God, this is a way bigger question than I expected in this survey. Why would you print that? Why would you use that? You fucking imbeciles. Why did you put it first, too? That's like a... Oh, fuck's sake. What are you proving by printing that? That people are morons who don't consider the industry they work in? Apprenticeships. Yeah, maybe. But it depends who you're offering them to. Don't know. Did I have in television instead of ColecoVision? No. Oh, actually, maybe. A little bit like that, but it was more basic. More public funding for indie studios. Add games to public subsidized arts programs. Yes, I'm up for that. Real-time profanity abuse filter for online chat interactions. Fuck yourself. Suck my dick. You absolute pussy. Gaming has to go back to being the Wild West. The internet does too. Talent sovereignty network that would allow creatives direct control over their digital likeness, voice, and creative output. What? I don't like the sound of that. It sounds oppressive. Pay transparency, more competitive distribution options. That couldn't hurt. Widespread unionizing. Fuck off. I mean, Unfortunately, unions don't fix the fucking problem at all. They don't. They end up making it. I mean, they'll tank the companies faster, and they'll still end up getting losing their jobs because the companies. I mean, okay, maybe it would work because there is a wealth of unchecked capitalism going on, but borderline socialism isn't going to fix it. Unions have never made anything better. Make the minimum cost of a game be 99 cents. No free games. No, not if you're offering fucking not if you're offering like free to play games, and then you're going to start putting that quality behind a paywall. 99 cents for a free to play piece of shit game that's riddled with microtransactions. Fuck off. 99 cents for, say, games 30 years older or more. Yeah, that's probably what should happen. Someone put pay me. Someone put fucking pay me as their response. Oh no. Teaching studios built to produce titles using mostly new entrants in the industry explicitly. Cross-company insurance pooling, US specific. Make selling or releasing source code for old games a more common practice. I don't know about that one, but at least they're thinking. I suppose it would help the developers, but it wouldn't help them to improve as developers. Tough one. Vet leaders as well as we vet new hires. Fuck yes. See, this is the problem. You see, you can't be completely right wing. No matter what they try to say about us, you cannot be right wing all the way and support an industry, because on the one hand, people are getting laid off principally because the higher ups who make these decisions based entirely on greed are not taking pay cuts themselves. They refuse, and instead they virtue signal with fake fairness, which never works. Anyway, there you go. Abolition of the NDA so people could talk about prior work, even cancel projects. That would be nice. A little transparency would help. Well, for me, I have no clue. It's so fucked right now. Well, another DEI hire there, probably. More co-ops and employee-owned studios. In other words, more indies. There you go. There's a good point. Starfield is still full price. That's true. That's true. And that's another problem. The game doesn't sell at full price. They end up having to reduce it. And that's when they realize they can't actually make any money. So there you go. There's much more about this. Much, much more I would like to get into. But the real problem remains here. Steady growth on accessibility, diversity, and sustainability. They are completely focused on things like that. Blaming external sources and not really ever taking responsibility for themselves. Games industry is fucked, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely fucked. What are you guys thinking? Let's have a look at what you guys are saying. Do we have any more supers? Nope. Okay. Let's see. Unions for thee, but not the CCP. Yeah, agreed. Path of Exile 2 is fee. What's that? Fee to pay? Anime Mania. What's that? Oh, right. Yeah. I see. You were talking about the PC Master Race. Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. At the end of the day, I like Steam. It prices games fairly. If something goes on my wish list, I get a fucking email if it gets a price drop. Like the other day, I was thinking I wanted to pick up Chrono Trigger on Steam because for some reason I didn't have it already. And then I thought, yeah, I could drop like $30 for it. But instead, I could probably just wait. Sooner or later, it'll go down to like half of that. And it did. So then I bought it. That was a few weeks ago, actually. But I don't buy that many games really these days. In terms of like, I don't go buy like 10 games at a time. The best deal I ever got on Steam was all the Fallout games for $10. All of them. Like literally all of them. Even the spin-offs. It was crazy. You can't have that. I mean, the thing is, Sony and Microsoft, yeah, they'd rather give you a rental service. Just like Ubisoft want you to not own your games. They want to rent them to you so they can take them away again. Unfortunately, Nintendo's looking like they're going to go down this route more and more and more as time goes on. These will not work. It comes back to the very fundamental thing that I pointed out earlier on. And that is, quite simply, that you have to put your customers first. What do your customers want? This whole document of the GDC, State of the Gaming Industry, spent the entire time talking about the needs and wants of devs. Don't get me wrong, that's very important. And management decisions. It never actually mentioned how these things affect the customers. They're not thinking about the customers enough. Devs and customers, that's what we do. Kira, you absolute legend, sent me a $4.99 super sticker. Well, I really appreciate that, you know. I actually really do appreciate that. For a new show, any support like that is much appreciated. It's not why principally I'm here, but yeah, I got a second kid on the way. It helps. Appreciate it. So there you go. I'm going to wrap this up in the next couple of minutes, guys, because I know that we'll all probably soon be rolling over to watch Hypnocast. So why not? But it's been a real pleasure to have you guys here to talk amongst you and all react to this shit together. It's good fun. I love it. If you're driving in your car right now, then you are benefiting from the drive time portion. As for me and everyone else, we're benefiting from the hyperdrive part. So that's what the show's about, getting more content out and more interaction with you guys. So there you go. That will do for me. I will leave you with, once again, just for the first few episodes, I'll run the intro for those who haven't seen it yet. And I'll play the credits, which sadly, I still have to let you know, are still out of date. I haven't had the time yet to be able to update the credit sequence. And unfortunately, the master edit file has disappeared. I don't usually do that kind of thing, but that's what's happened. In the meantime, take care, and we'll see you at the same time tomorrow. But don't forget about WTF Live, which will be happening in about 12 hours from now. Till then, ta-ta, take care, and see you next time.
Engines roar through the ash-gray skies. The wasteland burns, but hope won't die. Every screen's a twisted lie, built to break us, make us comply. They poison the heroes, rewrite the tales, turn legends to dust, leave us frail. But we're not done, we won't bow down. Through the wreckage, we'll take the crown. Steel hearts ignite, fire in our veins. Freedom's calling, breaking the chains. They can't erase what we already know. Hyperdrive now, let's fucking go.